A successful move from Active Directory to Microsoft Entra ID starts with strategy, not tools. First, define the outcome. Then shape the target operating model and migrate through pilots, waves, checkpoints, and rollback paths. That keeps architecture decisions grounded, intentional, and safe. At this point, you have the building blocks for migration strategy. Module 1 grounded us in AD structure, authentication, DNS, group policy, and assessment. Module 2 added Entra ID tenants, roles, modern authentication, SSO, and security. Now we connect them, using what exists today to define the target operating model, migration approach, dependencies, risk, rollback, and governance. Before any synchronization tool is configured, the migration needs a strategy. That strategy answers why you are moving, what must change, when it should happen, how it will be executed, and who owns each decision. It connects identity modernization to security, operations, compliance, and user experience. Without it, teams often deploy features first and define success later. With it, decisions about hybrid identity, devices, applications, and governance follow clear criteria. Implementation becomes a guided path, not a set of disconnected configuration tasks. A migration vision defines the destination before you choose the route. It describes what the organization is trying to become, not just which systems will move. For some teams, the driver is reducing Active Directory dependency. For others, it is better remote access, stronger security, or simpler operations. The vision should also name the target model: cloud first, hybrid, or staged coexistence. Business leaders need to see outcomes like lower risk, higher productivity, cost control, and resilience. Technical teams need clarity on which identity capabilities must modernize first. To make the vision actionable, define what better means. A goal like reducing AD dependency is useful, but it becomes measurable only when tied to KPIs: fewer domain-joined devices, fewer LDAP or Kerberos apps, and less reliance on group policy. The same pattern applies to security, user experience, and operations. Track MFA and conditional access coverage, SSO adoption, password prompt reductions, lifecycle automation, and help desk resolution times. Capture a baseline, set a target, and name the data source. That turns migration into measurable organizational progress. The current state assessment is more than documentation. It becomes the evidence base for every migration decision. Directory objects, Os, groups, GPOs, and authentication paths show where complexity and hidden dependencies exist. Application inventory identifies systems that still rely on LDAP, Kerberos, NTLM, SAML, OAuth, or OpenID Connect. User and device segmentation turns that evidence into pilot groups, migration waves, and support plans. Security findings then shape priorities such as MFA, privileged access controls, and legacy authentication cleanup. The result is a strategy grounded in facts, not assumptions. Target state architecture turns migration goals into an operating model. Start with the identity authority: cloud-only, synchronized, or hybrid. From there, define how users, groups, devices, and applications enter the environment, receive access, change over time, and are retired. Authentication should move toward modern protocols like SAML, OpenID Connect, and OAuth, strengthened by MFA and conditional access. Authorization should be role-based and least privileged. Monitoring then closes the loop by detecting risky sign-ins, policy gaps, and administrative activity after cutover. Future state identity design begins with where each identity is mastered. For employees, that may be HR plus synchronized Active Directory. For cloud-only or external users, Entra ID or partner identity sources may be authoritative. Next, rationalize groups by purpose: separate access, licensing, collaboration, administration, and dynamic membership, so each group has a clear job. For administration, move away from broad legacy delegation. Use Entra roles, administrative units, scoped roles, and privileged identity management. Finally, standardize naming, ownership, lifecycle rules, and periodic reviews so the model stays clean over time. After migration, the key access question is simple: what must be true before a user gets in? Start by defining the target state for each device. Some should be Microsoft Entra joined, some hybrid joined, some only registered, and some may remain unmanaged with limited access. Then classify applications by authentication pattern. Modern apps should move to SSO with SAML, OIDC, or modern authentication. Legacy apps that depend on LDAP, Kerberos, NTLM, agents, or hard-coded domains need remediation. Access is then enforced through conditional access, compliance, identity protection, and least privilege. In the target state, access is no longer granted just because a request comes from inside a trusted network. Every sign-in is evaluated through modern identity protocols like OAuth, OpenID Connect, and SAML, then filtered through conditional access. The decision considers who the user is, whether the device is compliant, where the request originates, the risk level, the application sensitivity, and the strength of authentication already performed. Low-risk access can be allowed. Higher-risk access may require MFA, passwordless proof, or session restrictions. Unacceptable risk is blocked. Operations must also be clear after go-live. The target model defines who owns architecture, policy, lifecycle events, application access, device compliance, and incidents. It turns common activities into repeatable processes: onboarding, offboarding, role activation, access reviews, and emergency break glass. Support boundaries need to be updated as well, so the help desk, endpoint teams, security teams, and application owners know when to act and when to escalate. Monitoring and reporting close the loop by showing where controls are working and where the model needs improvement. Migration execution works best when risk is reduced in stages. Begin with a pilot, a small representative group that proves the design, support model, and user experience before scale. Then move into waves, grouping users, devices, apps, or sites by dependency, geography, business unit, or risk. Each wave needs clear entry and exit criteria, communications, support coverage, and rollback choices. Cutover is the controlled moment when a workload or population moves to the target model. After cutover, stabilize quickly, capture lessons, and feed them into the next wave. An effective pilot is not just a soft launch. It is a controlled test of the migration design. Choose users who reflect real complexity: IT, finance, sales, remote staff, different devices, locations, apps, and support needs. Test the moments that can break trust, including sign-in, MFA, device compliance, application access, password reset, monitoring, and help desk handling. The goal is not to prove everything is perfect. It is to find issues early, update runbooks, improve communications, and confirm readiness before expanding deployment. Phased migration should not rely on optimism. Before each phase, define what ready means. Identity checks pass, devices enroll correctly, key applications work, support teams are prepared, communications are sent, and business owners approve. Use measurable checkpoints such as sign-in success, MFA completion, app access validation, and ticket volume. If results are green, proceed. If they are yellow, pause and remediate. If they are red, use the planned rollback path for users, devices, apps, or policies. Clear owners and go, no-go criteria make decisions fast and defensible. Migration succeeds when strategy becomes a practical roadmap. Define business outcomes and measurable goals. Design the target state across identities, devices, apps, authentication, administration, governance, and operations. Then execute in controlled phases with pilots, waves, cutovers, checkpoints, and rollback plans. Next, we'll compare cloud-only, hybrid, and coexistence models, and plan for synchronization and legacy dependencies.